So tell me about sports ministry, and because that's something that's kind of very new to me. I really didn't know much about that at all. So explain that to me and my audience that may not know anything about it.
Yeah, so basically, sports rec and fitness ministry is the stuff that you see a lot of churches doing, a lot of outreach events doing. It's a outreach discipleship style ministry using sports, recreation, or fitness as the main method of doing it. There's a very long history of this. The sports itself has always been wrapped up in two things, either religion or politics or both. Going back into ancient Greece, the Olympics were done, they ran to honor the gods. Some of the Roman games were done to honor the gods. Current event, the Olympics are done a lot of times in a political fashion as well. Sports ministry, though, is redeeming all of that and bringing it back to honor the one true God rather than, all the false gods that are being thrown out. There's been a history of it within the church since, the 1800s with the YMCA, the Muscular Christianity music movement. Guys like Billy Sunday,
Right.
Dwight Moody, wow, I just lost their names. There's a very long list of guys that kind of started doing this in a local church setting or in the YMCA setting when it first got started. Paul uses this kind of imagery throughout his different letters. His letter to the Corinthians talks a lot about athletic. Even the whole thing, I personally think Paul or one of Paul's disciples wrote Hebrews, and we see a lot of athletic imagery going on throughout that book as well. So there's a lot of different aspects to it as far as the history of it. But the modern sports ministry movement is one of, churches running camps, doing, trainings, things like that. It's a way to bridge the gap between the disconnect of people that are in the street and people inside the church, and it's a bridge to bring them into the at least atmosphere. And once we can do that and they start feeling like they belong and they start feeling like they can actually be a part of this church thing, then from that we can then take them from the gym into the sanctuaries and from the sanctuaries into discipleship communities.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a long historical thing. The stuff we do is a more modern version of it. But it's not new. It's just not well known, at least not as well known as it should be.
Okay. Now, we could do an episode on who wrote the book of Hebrews now.
Oh yeah. There's a ton of different stuff, and that's and honestly, that's even, knowing the history of even the sports ministry movement or how sports and religion kind of intersect.
Right.
Actually plays a big deal into how, we even see things like in 1 Corinthians 9, when Paul talks about being disqualified. There used to be I just lost the city. One of the Isthmian games, one of the ancient Greek games, there was actually a hall of shame underneath one of the stadiums where people that caught cheating, their name and their bust was engraved so deep that in the ruins you can even still read some of them today, so that they were always marked a cheater. Paul would have known this traveling through those different cities on his journeys. It's very likely he was a sports fan based off of the stuff he wrote about and talked about, and so he would have known, and so he knew his audience would know. There's a lot of different aspects to even understanding why Paul used the imagery, why the New Testament writers used that imagery, just from understanding the sports history of it as well. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there.
But so you think there's a possibility that Paul might have been an athlete?
I don't know if he was an athlete, but I would not be surprised if he took in some races throughout his trips. He was a traveler. He engulfed himself a lot in the cultural attitudes. We see this with Mars Hill. He goes with the philosophers to their place of meeting to talk and to speculate and to argue and debate. When he's with the Jews, he talks a lot about Jewish history and, all these things and comparing. So I would not be shocked at all if he had at least gone to a few events throughout his travels.